Greetings, gamers, and welcome to the 23rd live stream from the MisfitGamersStudios. I'm your host, Vortex, and this is D&D Discussions. I think today we're just pretty much going to have a smaller stream today. Probably not going to go very long. Really, mainly, I just didn't have a huge topic that I wanted to cover today. Also had a very long week so far, so I'm feeling kind of drained. But I wanted to take today to kind of just discuss some ideas I had about the stream moving forward. I've been talking to Kage a lot about it, and really have a good idea of where we want to go now and kind of some of the stuff that we want to do, but we also want a lot more feedback from everybody, and we just kind of want to keep the community in mind as we move forward, because it does seem like, the more we do this, the more it's going to grow, which is always the goal, and it's probably going to happen a little bit quicker than we expected. So I've been doing a lot of work in the background recently to kind of just update the stream a little bit, trying to put it like a few touches on it, so we have a lot of the backgrounds that you've been seeing, the transitions, those have been getting a little bit better. I now have alerts. I have audio alerts, as well as some things that will pop up on the stream as well, and then some other things that when people talk, with emotes and everything, they'll pop onto the stream as well. So just really trying to do some quality of life improvements, because I was again, most of this was trying to get videos for YouTube, and so this was just a way for me to help generate content. I wasn't 100% sure how quickly this was going to build versus my YouTube side. But yeah, the Twitch side has grown so much more and so much quicker. I've only been doing this since May, so 4 months now. Been doing it 4 months. I think I just looked on YouTube earlier today. I have over 30 videos, and I've been streaming pretty much twice a week ever since. So I want to keep that up. I've been really enjoying it, but just have to do a lot of housekeeping and just a lot of stuff. Cosmic, did I tell Kage about the raid? Yes, I did tell him about the raid. He is super stoked. I told him just about what happened and everything, and then I just told him that I immediately followed that up that night and that following weekend. What was it? That was on Sunday. It was either Sunday night or Monday. I remember I just went through and I updated the stream, so that won't happen again. I will not miss that again. Oh man, you have no idea how embarrassed I was, like, realizing that I had just missed my very first raid. But lesson learned, and I fixed it. It won't happen again. So if I do get raided and we get some followers, it will tell me. I'm pretty sure that my alerts are too loud. It seems like they're too loud on my end, so that's good though, because at least they'll catch my attention. But I do need feedback from viewers in the stream. If you do hear my alerts, I'm just curious if they are too loud for the stream or not, because I know for me they are very loud. But again, the whole point, I won't miss that again. Getting better at calling people out, especially when I get the follows and everything. And we're trying to just move towards a cleaner stream. As you guys can see right here, I'm still bare bonesing it with free apps and everything, but the idea is that as we progress this and as things seem to be going in the right direction, I do want to continue to up the quality. Obviously, until I get a better computer and can do better game streaming, where I'm just trying to have to work with what I got. But this seems to be an area that my computer can handle, but I just don't have the greatest, the greatest equipment. One of the cameras that we use is a very old webcam. It's fine. It does what it needs to do, but it's a webcam. It's not great quality. That's the one that I usually game when I'm facing the computer, because the one I'm using right now, when you guys see me like this, is my tablet. It's a nicer camera. It's easier to set up. I actually have a very nice stand for it and everything, which is why I can actually normally stand here. The problem is that stand doesn't fit on my desk, and just trying to get a situation to where I'd have to pull my desk out, put the whole stand behind it. And I've thought about doing that. I haven't really sat down and done it yet. So I've been switching between the two, but I want some more consistency in that, because my camera quality is going to be important moving forward. So we are looking into either, paying for the app so this stuff goes away, or just upgrading into some old used good digital cameras that we can use for much higher quality video. That would be really nice. I'm hoping that probably sometime by the end of the year or early next year, I'll be upgrading my PC. And then once I can do that, my game streams will be a lot better. And then around that time as well, probably early next year, I'll be really taking in, more serious account of like the other equipment that we have. We're trying to we have a new microphone for Kage. This has just been my basic, like it's a nice USB microphone that I use for gaming. Because I don't really care what I sound like gaming. I have my really nice one for when I do my audio recordings and my music, but that one's kind of a pain in the ass to set up, and I normally keep that one boxed up and locked away. I don't usually like to take that one out and set it up just for stream. So when I do have that, it's usually because Kage's here, and that's the one that will work with my interface for both of those other microphones. So we're hoping to eventually synchronize on that and find just a pair or a set of good quality ones that either either are standalone microphones like this, or we're considering. I'm not a huge fan of the clip-on ones, but that might end up being just what we can afford in terms of affordability and good quality. That's kind of what we're going for here. So. Looking forward, it's going to take a couple months, budgeting, finances. The stream's not making any money yet. We're still on our way to affiliate. Good news is we're at 20 followers. We only need 50. That's one of the milestones to get affiliate. So that raid really helped us out the other day of knocking our numbers up there. So I did update my Twitch. So on the bottom of my Twitch thing, it should say the follower count. It looks like I think I have a goal set. I'm playing around with stuff like that, with like setting goals and just trying to have that more aware. But really, the goal isn't to make money. That's always a nice bonus. It's always obviously a byproduct of doing Twitch and YouTube, and obviously it's always in the background, but it is not at all the primary goal. For us. I'm working with what I got because I wanted to, not because I didn't go out and buy stuff and hoping to make my money back, and that's never really the thing about this. So it would be nice to get to affiliate, just more as the competitiveness and actually just working towards a goal and actually having something to achieve. But outside of that, I don't expect to get that this year, so it's not really even not really big, something that's big on our to-do list in terms of trying to even factor in whether or not we're breaking even in consideration of like what we've put in, because I've already I've tried to put in as little as I can, and so in terms of like upgrading the cameras, that's gonna probably be like the very first investment we even consider making, and I think it'll be a worthwhile one, but we're not really even trying to look at it in comparison to how long it would take us to recoup that, because the benefit to us to feel more confident and have a better stream would outweigh the worry that we would have for how many months it would take to try and recoup that as an affiliate. So moving forward, it's not so much about high level of production, but just improving the quality to where it's a better stream to intake, and it's actually more palatable for more people. But with that being said, so I just kind of wanted to talk about like some of my ideas for where I want to take the stream, because I definitely didn't have a huge big picture in mind when I started all of this. I knew I needed to stay focused on D&D. The whole kind of big thing about this was if I were gonna be able to do any kind of streaming, right? If I were gonna be able to be a streamer and actually take this on as a hobby and really enjoy it, but also be able to keep up with it, just have the ability to do it even on off days, even on days that I may not, really feel like it, because that was my original problem when I tried to just straight do video games. I love playing video games all the time. I just don't always like having to be on and talking and being aware of everything in terms of an audience. So that was not something I was really jiving with. And then this time around, I started it with the mindset of like, if I focused it on D&D, if I used D&D as the topic, it's something that I just never get tired of. So even on my off days, it's still something that can get my attention enough to be able to talk through. And I really do want to keep it that way. I am very, very much enjoying the pop-up games. I'm enjoying when I'm playing certain games like Shadows of Doubt or Baldur's Gate recently. I have really enjoyed popping up and doing those live on stream. I do want to keep doing that, but I want that to be more of a that is definitely just more of something I want to do as for fun when I'm in the mood to do it. I don't really want that to actually take over. I mean, fair enough. I might put more hours into that, but I don't want that to essentially take over what my streaming is really all about. I want, at the end of the day, I want D&D Discussions, the Monday, Thursday podcast stream, whatever we're calling it. Essentially, I want that to be the primary focus. That's where I really want my streaming mindset to be at. And the games are just essentially, in my mind, I treat the pop-up games as an opportunity to just, have my viewers from the D&D Discussions podcast come out and hang out with me and just see me outside of a D&D discussion. Because at least, when we're doing those kind of games, it's just more of a hangout. I'm less focused on trying to be, I don't want to say performance level. I don't necessarily consider myself acting, but I definitely, when I'm gaming, is more focused on just kind of letting my mind wander with the game and be a little bit more casual. Whereas with here, I definitely try to stay more on topic just because I can get very squirrely sometimes, and I need to get better at that. So yeah, how I want to move forward, I want to keep the Monday, Thursday schedule, at least for now. It's really working out for me. I'm one day, if we eventually get to a point, especially the closer we get to, affiliate, possibly sometime next year, it will have to be on my mind of potentially switching one of those days to accommodate for a wider audience. I may eventually get to a point to where I have to do a weekend or a morning, just so I can get a time block that is more available for most of my audience. But as of right now, Mondays will always be kept. And Mondays are really on Kage's schedule, because I really want him here, and he's able to be here every week. That those days are always going to be kind of really in line with him and where he's at. So Mondays are kind of beholden to when he gets figured out. Those days will only change on his schedule. Thursdays are just my extra day because I do like to do things on the weekends. Sometimes I just kind of bug out on Friday night with a buddy and go hiking in the mountains. So it's just one of those things where I don't want to be scheduled on Fridays, because those are one of my most spontaneous days to just get out of town or go do things. Saturday, Sunday, those are really the best days I'm most likely going to do a pop-up stream. And then with my work schedule, because I'm able to have regular days off throughout the month, I'll do different days during the week. During the week I might pop up like on a Monday or something before, like I did this week. I had Monday off, so I popped in before the stream ended, the more Baldur's Gate. So yeah, pretty much gonna continue with that. And I'm really liking Shadows of Doubt, but I am also hoping that I'm looking more forward to that game being updated and getting out of early access. So I will continue to play that, but I think I'm going to be switching more to Baldur's Gate, just so I can continue my first impressions and at least get through Act 1. I'm definitely going to get through Act 1 before I give it a really hard review. I'm still not impressed right now, but I want to keep playing it, and I will keep playing that on stream. I don't want to play that and then just pop in on stream, as long as my computer can handle it. I know over the weekend I ended up having to I had to stop one stream and restart it because it was just, the lag was getting so bad. So I will try to keep doing that one. But this is part of the conversation where I really want to start opening up to, I guess, whoever's currently watching, as well as anybody on YouTube who wants to comment on this video. Basically, I want more ideas in terms of what the audience, and this is not necessarily just for today, but ongoing, are there other games outside of like Baldur's Gate and Shadows of Doubt that would, that the audience would like me to play, from the point of view of either, should I be playing other D&D games and kind of doing what I'm doing with Baldur's Gate, and giving my perception of my love of D&D versus what this representation of D&D is. I don't know if I should just play all of the games that I normally play and it wouldn't really matter to y'all. And I don't know. I want to know also if you guys want more time with D&D discussions. So Obviously, Kage only gets us once a week, so we can't really ask for him to come on board more. But if it comes down to, you know, in general, if a third day is needed, we're really curious to know if we want to, you know, if the audience would want more content throughout the week. And then we also, I'm really curious to know what topics you want us to cover more, because we're really liking this idea that Mondays are our review days. So this has been something that he and I have talked about a lot, and that's where he and I shine the most. That's where he and I just have the most fun with things. And we've really been enjoying Cosmic sending in his stuff, and the idea of having our audience and our viewers send us stuff that they're building and crafting to get our takes on it, and just to kind of get either, you know, what we would do with it, or just in general have an open discussion so we can, you know, help you flesh out some ideas. Kage and I have just basically decided that that's just really kind of a new cornerstone that we want to get into. Wasn't really an idea that I even had originally thought of. It was an idea for some videos, but I didn't really think of it as a main topic. But it's just become so ingrained to do, and we're looking forward to it just every week, of talking about like new ways to make items work, or classes, or things like that. So moving forward, Monday is pretty much going to be locked in for reviews. So that could be anything from homebrew, from stuff that you guys send us, or anything on like D&D Beyond. It can be items that we're creating for our campaigns, and just kind of helping, you know, fleshing them out on stream. You know, I'll go over more of the classes that I've made specifically for High Point, and even just having conversations about things I've modified. You know, we really just want to talk, we want that day to be more about, you know, what have people done and what are our perceptives of that. And that really works because that way we can both do it while we're here. We get more of that interaction, and I'm better at soundboarding when someone's in the room. I think I've mentioned that before. So it's really great for me to have him in the room to do that. And that way he doesn't have to always be caught up the next week on what I've already reviewed, and then spend time on him having to review it and then get to a new item. It's just going to be easier for the stream to just lock that in for Mondays. So Mondays is pretty much going to be some sort of a review. We're hoping to get titles for things like that. I mean, obviously it's D&D Discussions, and, you know, it's always going to have like the name of the topic, but you know, whether it's homebrew review or something, we kind of want to lock in a title. So we also want your guys' feedback on what you guys think of like a good like video title. If we were to do a series on YouTube, you know, what would that be like? You know, homebrew review is really all we got right now. Let's see. So Cosmic, maybe get a second guest to come on whenever Kage can't. Yes, that is a fantastic idea. Thank you. I have talked to my wife and longest term gamer, Vixie. She has considered coming on. She also streams. So she's not, you know, she's not used to being on camera and being streaming, but she just hasn't decided whether or not she's ready and comfortable to talk mainstream about D&D, you know, for a solid hour like Kage and I do. As much as she's into it, you know, her and I's gameplay, especially like our solo gameplay one-on-one in High Point, is drastically different than when you know, I have Kage with me one-on-one, or even when those two game in the Old Gods campaign, which I still need to do that one of these days. I need to figure out how to get all of that audio onto either YouTube or somewhere, so I can get you guys listening to that old stream. But yes, I do want to talk about getting her on stream, whether it's to replace Kage when he's not available, or just to join us, you know, for certain discussions. But I think it's going to be more topic related with her. It's going to be more when it's locked in on a topic that she's either more well versed in, or just the most comfortable with to talk for long periods of time. She's not a big talker. Even when she streams, it's more reactionary with her audience, so I feel that. Other than that, I do have another buddy. He's currently in the process. Well, they're about to have a kid, but he's a close buddy of mine who is also a DM, and his history with D&D is drastically different than mine, and we both have a very drastically different approach to DMing, and I've been very interested in having him come on board and talk about his experiences, because he does it with like work buddies, so that's something that is kind of a unique situation that I haven't done. But yeah, he's done it with work buddies, he's done it with his family, he's also done it on Discord, and then he hosts his own one at his place, and he's done a couple of different things as well. So he's the one who introduced me to like I played most recently with 4th edition with him. We tried that first. He introduced me to wow, I had it in my head now, I can't remember, but it was one of the I don't want to say a module, but it was one of I think it was like a Kickstarter campaign type of backstory, and that was really cool. And right now, it's been a while since we've been able to get together, but he has the whole setup because he unlike me really does like to do like the hobby side of it, especially the collection and the all of the actual tabletop stuff. So he has a 3D printer. He prints out all of like his minis. He has game boards that he can put out. He had these like 3D printed like tiles that you could break apart and put together, so you can kind of like custom build your own maps. Yeah, he has a lot of cool stuff that, like, if you really like having the tabletop set up, he has it all. And so I've been really wanting to get him in here. It's just really scheduling, because Mondays and Thursdays aren't the best days for people who have real jobs. Plus, with the development of the kid in the last year, I think they're due like in a month or two. So it's just kind of been ramping up. I've just been starting this the last 4 months, and they've been dealing with just life. So I really do want to get him in here once things settle down. I don't know when that's going to be. I did want to get kind of a good groove here myself before I had too many people on board. Just because, I needed to get used to being a host. I needed to get used to talking and being able to control the conversation to the point to where there's not just dead silence like my streams used to be. Because I was pretty bad at just focusing too much on the game and not really actually providing any content. But yeah, now that I'm getting more comfortable, it's been a couple months now that I'm getting into the groove, and now that I've solidified with myself that D&D is really the best topic for me, because it's something that's easy for me to come up with topics about. I'm feeling a lot more confident. I do want to have more people come on board now. Having Kage here was also a really big test for me to see if I'm can handle operating with another person and being able to handle the audience, handle the topic, handle a guest. And I'm feeling a lot better about it. So now that I'm more in control of that, I definitely agree with you. I want to have more people in, whether it's extra guest stars or people that can fill in for Kage when he's not here. So yes, I have a buddy that I want to bring in. I do have my wife that I want to bring in. Outside of that, though, I do know a lot of people that play D&D, but not a lot that would really be into this. Like, I don't have a ton of people who would be that comfortable getting on camera and talking, or at least talking at length about things. So outside of that, I don't really know what my options are, but I have also thought about I guess a good segue here. So one of the things that I've been thinking about doing, because I've already mentioned that Mondays we want to lock in the review. So what does that mean for Thursdays? Well, that's one of the big things that I'm working on right now, and kind of why I wanted to bring this up today. Why today is just mainly about the future of the Discord, because the Discord, future of the stream. The last couple weeks on Thursdays, I've been doing kind of like a deep dive series. So I really dove deep into the old Discord that I ran and the 5e campaign that was behind that. I had a lot of fun doing that. Wasn't my best. I don't think it was like anywhere near my best type of stream. Mondays seemed, I think, just for some reason, Mondays seem to be the best, but that's just because we're usually interacting with Cosmic and, we're actually going over, your guys' items. So I think obviously Mondays are going to be that way. But with Thursdays, I was really having a lot of fun doing that deep dive. And I was really trying to think, like, after that, right? After the Discord, what big next topic am I going to do? And as much as I can think of different topics to talk about, I was struggling to find things that I could just sit down and do like all at once, I mean, I could sit down and talk for 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here, 15 minutes here about different things. But unlike the Discord, there's not a lot of topics I could, you know, literally just do a 2 to 3 straight hour segment on. And that's where I'm not really sure how I want to break out Thursdays in terms of, do I just want a generalized topic, and hopefully if the audience is there, we can work together on, just talking and chatting, and that would be great. I really want to bring more of this stream into a community-based stream in the sense that I want to interact with the audience more. I want to get your ideas. I want to answer your questions, and until that can get to that point, until we can get to the point to where the community is big enough to where we're basically rolling off of each other's ideas and just continuing with that, because I think that would be a lot of more fun for streams, because we would just be able to cover anything and everything. But until then, I need to be a little bit better at either having a plan for streams or having better ideas that will fill the gap. And so that's where I'm going to need a little bit more help as well. I really like, getting your guys' ideas of topics you either want me to talk about, questions that I can build a topic around, or even, if essentially, if it comes down to you guys want to hear more about my builds, that is something that I wouldn't mind doing on Thursdays as well. Is maybe Thursdays I could go more into the development of High Point and just all of the metagaming stuff about High Point, or perhaps I could do deep dives into the lore of High Point and the backstory and all of that. That's just it. These are all the things I've thought about doing, but it really just comes down to what is going to be content that is worth watching, versus what is just going to be me here filling the gap and just putting out hours on Twitch. But again, until we get bigger, it's going to be a little bit harder to know what everyone's particulars are. So again, this is being said more for the future sense, not so much for today, but in the idea that someday someone will watch this video or will make a video from these clips, and this will get put in for more comment generation. But yeah, Thursdays I'm gonna need a little. I'm hoping to get more ideas for what topics I can cover, or just what I can actually do in terms of what you guys would be interested in. Cosmic, you do have a homebrew feat you want my input on. It's pretty short and simple. Okay, yeah, throw it at me real quick. And some other ideas. So I've thought about doing things like topics I've wanted to talk about, like dungeon making, right? So I've considered maybe dedicating a whole stream or a series of streams like I did with the Discord. So every stream, every Thursday I would tweak it. But like I wanted to think about a topic of such as dungeon making. So I was thinking either on one giant stream, or again, every single week, what I might do is, like, let's say I would get the camera out, I would get my graph paper out, and together on stream, we would like craft a dungeon. So I would make a dungeon by hand, the old school way. And that would be stream one. We'd craft the whole dungeon, make everything in it, maybe do some rolls to fill it up, and then get your guys' input. And then, again, if it's a long stream, we can continue. And if it's not, we can go to the next Thursday, which would be, we take that map and then let's say I recreate it in Google Sheets, as like how would you do this same map, but, digitally. So I could then go over how I would craft it for like Google Sheets and how it would play out. And then a different stream would be, well, let's make that in, say, Roll20. Or another online map generator that you can craft a map. Let's make it there. And then, the idea being that for any level of gamer that you are, or any level that you're at, the idea would be how can you, do that same thing at different levels. So create a map, on paper, on a Google Sheet, then on an actual map maker, and actually see and even on like like Roll20, like a different website that would allow you to play on it, and just to kind of give like different perspectives of how that map would work with different approaches, or with different materials. I don't know what I'm trying to say there, but I think you guys get what I mean. But yeah, so those are some of the ideas that I want to play with for Thursdays. I like the idea of like these series, right? So coming up with an idea that I can do 2 or 3 Thursdays in a row on, and have like part 1, part 2, part 3 streams. Not just for the idea that I want to make it easy and have one idea and just get out a bunch of content, but I love the idea of that development. About kind of like, how would I do something this way? And then the next week, how would I do it and approach it in a completely different way? So those are ideas that I'm playing with, and I have a laundry list of them. But again, future viewers, let me know what you think. I'm really curious to know what those kind of topics you would be interested in either seeing multiple videos on, or an entire dedicated segment to. Still waiting on Cosmic's feat, so other things that I'm considering about doing. So this stream today is basically just, again, talking a little bit openly about what I want to do, and acknowledgement of what's been happening with the stream recently. So, okay, good. He gave me that thing. So, yeah, I have a couple ideas for next week and the week after for my Thursdays. So we'll go over that, but let's do a quick sidebar, and let me do a quick little feat review here. All right. So feat is called Double or Nothing. When casting a damaging spell that targets a single creature, that creature makes a saving throw against your spell save DC. Arcana if there is no clear stat. Yeah, okay. That's pretty clear. Okay, so any spell that would do damage. You cast a spell doing damage. That targets a single creature. That creature makes a saving throw against your spell DC. If the creature succeeds, they take 0 damage. On a failure, the creature takes double damage. Spells that already have a spell save DC uses that same roll. So instead of half on success, full on failure. Wait, hold on. I'm having trouble understanding that last part. So spells that already have a spell save, DC uses that same roll. So instead of half damage on a save, full on failure. Oh, okay. So you're basically saying that if the spell has a DC, you use that DC save, but you just change the result to the double or nothing. So with Fireball already having a dex save, the feat's effects is tied to that dex save, not the 2 separate saves. Right. So it's always going to be a spell save DC against... Yeah, it's always a spell save against the spell save DC, and then it's Arcana if there's no clear stat, unless the spell already has one, and then you just use the one that it is, but you're replacing the effect. You're replacing the half damage on success. Interesting. I like that. And that's for spells. That's interesting. I like that. My mind wants to play with like who and how, because now it's like should any spellcaster be able to do this, or where does it come from? Like, where does the ability to like basically double or nothing it? I love the idea of letting this be like a warlock, especially if it's like a deal with the warlock's patron. I love that idea of it being like a warlock feat, an artificer feat, especially if the spell is coming from an item that they are using. Like, they can basically use their artificer powers to enhance or infuse it so it changes to the double or nothing. I think for High Point, I would put limitations on like not anybody can have this feat. Like, there's going to be limitations on who can take the feat, and then there would be limitations on, I think, when it could be used. Like I would say maybe this can't be used on a spell like scroll, because the scroll, by definition, you're technically, the scroll itself is everything self-contained. You're just casting it off the scroll. So maybe that would be like a time when you couldn't do it. But again, if you're an artificer, you'd be able to do it. If like you picked up like a wand of fireball, you'd be able to say, well, I have this feat, so by using the wand, I'm infusing it with my artificer power, and therefore imbuing it with the double or nothing. Again, the warlock being able to basically change it whenever they want because of that. A cleric, especially if you have like a god of trickery, because I think you've mentioned that. Yeah, your god of trickery. Any of the clerics, I would give the ability to have that feat because essentially the god of trickery is, or the god of gambling. I think those are the limitations I would personally put on it in High Point, just because I don't think it's a feat that really fits well in any situation. Kind of like how I'm not really a big fan of how 5th edition treats feats a lot of the times, because they do just feel like free for all of the time, and I kind of like more of the reason why behind it. But I really like this. I really, really like this idea of double or nothing, especially if it's a choice of. I would also like the idea of a choice, like not just you take this feat and that's just always what happens, but being able to just this time around, I am imbuing this spell with double or nothing. That is such a cool concept. So what'd you say? So since it could possibly be stacked with upcasting, I want it to be a feat locked to a higher level, like a 12th or higher, and it has to be in place of an ASI. Ability to set an increase. Yes. Okay. I don't mind the approach of level locking it. I don't mind your approach of level locking it. I've done that for many. There are my gamers know that I don't ever, like, there's nothing unavailable in my realm. Like there's nothing that you can't do. There are things that are unlockable, though. There are things that are locked that are unlockable, but there's like pretty much nothing you're not allowed to eventually access. So I'm definitely down for that. The level lock makes, again, it would make sense, especially if you have it in the sense of like how I would do a level lock personally, is kind of like how I do some of my class locks, like how you can't have certain classes until you either do certain things to unlock them. But one of the things that I like to do for like certain classes, or even certain techniques that I have, is essentially you have to be able to find someone who can train you in game, and essentially you have to be a high enough level to get their attention and to even become their essentially apprentice, where they could teach you that. So I'm very down for the idea of level locking it. Like I said, I with the level lock, it's solid. It is solid as is, especially when you're talking about level 12 or higher. I can't fault you for doing that. In fact, that feels very. I don't mean this in a condescending way. It still feels very safe. And I say safe instead of balanced, because it's still a very intense and awesome spell. It's just that it's keeping it level locked does keep it from, just early abuse, and it keeps it to where it's something to gain, like shoot for. It's something to want to work up towards, especially if you can find it early in game, like at between level 4 and 6, and find out you have to be like upwards of level 12. That would be really cool, because then it gives them that driving factor. But for me and High Point, I think if I capped it, or if I limited it to certain classes, I think I would be okay with going around the level lock, because again, like if you have something like a warlock with the right type of patron, or the right type of cleric for the right type of god, or an artificer, like I like the idea of letting an artificer just kind of always do it, because the idea to me, especially with an artificer, is like, their whole thing is like they're being able to work with how things work together, and then even kind of imbuing them with magic. So I almost kind of like them having, because I always imagine artificers are like trial and error mages. All their stuff is tinkering and trying to like work with new ideas. So the idea of them having a double or nothing out the gate kind of, I think, follows in line well with that story, and just kind of the idea of being an artificer and tinkering, because it's either going to work really, really well or not at all. Whereas other people would at least get some results. The artificer's banking on that this is going to happen. I like the idea of a warlock even getting it early on, but then I would almost even say, like, depending on, again, for High Point, depending on who his patron is, that warlock may only get this so many times per day, or maybe it would be like on the patron's choice, like the patron will decide when they get to do this. I don't know. I would, they would have some unique restrictions. Man, no, that's a solid idea though. And then yeah, again, stacking it with upcasting. So man, being able to upcast and double or nothing. Yeah, you're out. That's I mean, you're playing with fire, but man, that's such a good idea. And again, I think having it be that it's in place of an ASI at your 12 level, at your level lock. I think that's a safe bet too. I think that's a really good. I mean, again, it is a feat, so we're gonna have to do that anyway. But I think that's still a good move. Um, Man, that's fantastic. Bro, that's like a 10 out of 10. Like flat out. I can't find any fault with it. Like I don't have to change it. I don't have to fundamentally change it. I just have to adapt it. That like unlike the other items where they didn't work as is, it works as is. What I'm playing with is how to give it to a player. I'm not changing how it works. I'm not going to change the double or nothing. I'm not going to change your rolls because your rolls make perfect sense. Spells DC save, unless it's Arcana if there's no clear stat, or it's the spell's automatic DC save. Yeah, the only thing I'm changing is essentially how I would give it to a player, but there's nothing to change in how it operates. It's a 10 out of 10. I kind of want to use it. Like, legit, I might consider having something like that, or if not officially adding that as a feat, that's definitely a new consideration for something I would let a player do, if they wanted to have a character that could basically, push the bounds and do things like that. That is now something available in High Point. I need to let Kage know that because he's keeping track right now of most of my, until I can sit down and look back on all of my streams, because there's just so much. He's kind of keeping track of this stuff for me, so I need to send it to him real quick. What were we called? Double or nothing. Double or nothing. First homebrew. Get a 10 out of 10. That way he'll notate this, and now that I've texted him, I'll remember to mark this. We're going to make a whole list and be able to have that published or kind of like posted somewhere. So just kind of everybody can kind of keep up with the things that were like the most recent things that we've reviewed, and then have like the top 10 list. And depending on how big that gets, we might have a top 10 of each type, like top 10 feats, top 10 weapons. But as of right now, it'll just be like the top 10 homebrewed items by rank. So new feats submitted by Cosmic, double or nothing, first homebrew to get a 10 out of 10. Sending that text right now. Dude, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. That was actually really cool. I think he's going to love hearing about that, and that text is going to make it spicy. He's going to want to hear about that on Monday. So speaking of wanting to make a list, that actually is a fantastic segue. So next 2 weeks, what I'm thinking about doing for my Thursday stream, because I still don't have like big topics yet, but I do kind of have a new idea that'll cover at least 2, if not 3 weeks. It'll be like a 2 or 3 parter. But what I want to do for next Thursday is do kind of more of a casual one like this, to where it's not really like D&D topic based. But what I want to do is start setting up all of like my background stuff, because I'm enjoying the streams, I'm enjoying doing this, but Mondays and Thursdays during the week and is not, it's not the most accessible, and at the same time it's also, as of right now, I'm kind of doing a lot of the work on stream days, and I'm not really doing anything off stream days. And it's mainly just because there's not a lot to do. I'm not really editing my own videos. I'm not doing anything on YouTube. And so far, I haven't had to do a ton of prep. The biggest thing I did was all day Monday, or like part of the day Monday, I set up all of the alerts and everything on my stream. And again, that was just the same thing. I did it on stream day before a stream. So what I want to do is I want to start growing like, the off stream community stuff. So next Thursday, I was thinking about starting to build out the what am I talking about? To build out a Discord. So I was thinking about actually making a Discord specifically for Misfit Gamer Studios, being able to let like all the viewers come in and essentially have a much easier way for, say, like you guys to submit, because right now I have the email account just for this stream that I've been letting people submit to, but it's really just not going to be that easy to continue doing that. Whereas if I could have a Discord with everybody in it, and then have everybody like talking about it, I could get those ideas submitted. We could review them a lot easier. We could vet them a lot faster. I could have my mods look them over, just make sure everything's good. It'll be a little bit safer through Discord. Conversations could be a lot easier. We could actually hash out more ideas for topics. The idea is I can get to know you guys a little bit better, so we could actually build on these ideas. And instead of having to ask you in stream and wait for your YouTube comments to come in about what I should be doing, I really like the idea of just having a Discord. To be completely honest, it's like I like streamers. I like watching streamers, but a lot of times I watch their YouTubes and not them live, just because I'm just so I never sit down to just watch Twitch at any given time. And I know a lot of people have communities. I've never really been a part of one, to be honest. It's just, I don't know. I'm a streamer that didn't really get into the streaming environment. So it's unique to me. It sounds really cool. And I really want to work on getting that done. So I'm thinking about doing that on stream next Thursday by just sitting down and creating that, and then kind of doing that next Thursday, and then even the Thursday after, doing more of that background stuff. So, developing the Discord, maybe even, polishing up like some social medias. Because right now Misfit Gamer Studios doesn't have any social media. Basically, we are on YouTube and Twitch, and that's it. So after getting a Discord set up and then being able to have that available for the community to come into, and just have topics that we can start discussing more, and be able to bring more stuff to the stream. I'm also wanting to do social media, whether, just basically have ways to where I could say, hey, I'm doing a pop-up stream, in 2 hours. Because I usually know if I want to do a pop-up stream early in the morning, and I'll plan it out a couple hours ahead of time. So I want to be able to post that somewhere and let people know, because I don't think Twitch has a way to let people know, hey, I'm planning a stream later. I've updated the Twitch schedule, so you can go down there and see every Monday, Thursday I'm scheduled for it. But I just like the idea of being able to have content go out, and I'll have the Discord be able to do that. I'll have a bot in there, but I don't know. I don't know what the value of having other social media would be. So we may not go much further than Discord next Thursday, but again, it's going to be more about you guys and what social medias do you use? I mean, if you use, the app formerly known as Twitter, then, I can get one, so we can use that. If you guys are on Instagram, I can set up an alternative account for Misfit Gamer Studios there. The idea is just what's going to be best to get the communication out there, outside of just hoping that you guys stumble across me and see me go live. Let's see, Cosmic. Ironic thing is that Fireball used fire. Okay, the ironic thing is that I used Fireball as both a good and bad example. Good is its spell with a built-in spell DC save. Bad as it's not a single target spell, which is double or nothing, specifically only works with. Well, it's not a... I don't think you can technically target more than one creature with Fireball. It would hit more than one creature because it's AoE, but that's not necessarily saying that your target isn't. But at the same time, I don't know if you need to target someone to cast Fireball. Do you need a physical target? Because I do know that you did say that, and you're absolutely right. Yeah, stick with the verbiage if it is a damaging spell that can only target a single creature, but does Fireball actually target more than one creature? I don't think it does. And then how I came up with double or nothing. The Demon of my Wednesday group likes giving the players customized items, weapons as in-game birthday gifts. Nice. If their birthday lines up with a D&D session. Okay, nice. I have like my similar D&D point, or my DM points. Which mine may be in just under a month. Awesome. I had 2 items in mind, depending on which character I will be using by the time my birthday comes around. Awesome. An item with the double or nothing feat is one for my current character. If I swap to a different character, I'd have a different item in mind. One with a cannon feat. Ooh, cannon feat. That's a slick idea, man. Like I love the double or nothing thing. I'm gonna play around with that a lot more. So D&D Discussions is going to continue. It's going strong, and I want it to continue to grow. So next week, next Thursday, I will sit down and I will be building out a new Discord server. It's not really going to take an hour, obviously, but I'm just going to kind of, polish it up, fix up the roles and everything, get it posted, at least on the YouTube channel. Well, I don't know if I really want to post on the YouTube channel. I'll have to figure out the best way to get those out there. I might only ever have the link joinable during chat, so I don't get crazy people in the Discord. But yeah, the idea would be I want a Discord where we can all just hang out and chat. Obviously, you'll have the generalized chat. I'll have a section for DM questions. So this will be kind of like what I had in my other Discord, where people can just ask me any questions about how I would do things as a DM or about High Point, and then that could always be topics of discussion. If I feel like I need to really deep dive into it and I can't type it all out, that would be a great way to get discussions. I'll have a channel just for people to submit items to me for review. I'll have a channel that is just built for the top 10 lists and the most recent reviewed. So I'll have like links of like the 3 most recent reviewed items, and then links to the stream, and the timestamp is like the idea I'm going for. And then of course I'll have like the top 10 like ranked items, and then that will eventually probably get split into weapons and spells and all the different homebrew categories as we build up these items that you guys keep sending us. I might even have obviously I'll have like a suggestion box one. I might try to, I'm considering again, building up to doing like gaming online. Kage and I have talked about this a lot. We're not 100% sure the way that we actively game is going to be fun to watch. The Old Gods campaign was a very specific way we gamed, specifically because we tried to make it more entertaining for the podcast, but our standard way of gaming isn't always as entertaining, I think, from a third-party point of view, because obviously it's way more involved with, our backstories and the character development, and it's not as entertaining in terms of like when I watch gaming groups stream and they actually like are all really getting into it. It's I just don't know if we really have that yet. So we've been in discussions about bringing in actual gaming sessions, and whether it's our one-on-ones with me and his character, and his just development through High Point, or actually getting one of our gaming groups actually together who are comfortable being on camera, or at least being on voice, so we can just have half the people on camera, and then doing a gaming session live. I don't want to, just because it's already finicky enough for our gaming sessions normally, I just don't want to like put that out there as an expectation for us. I don't want to say that is going to be something that we want to do regularly, because it's just going to be so hard, not only to schedule, but I've also felt like even with the podcast, one of the struggles that we had was we had so much fun doing it, but it was just a struggle when we felt like we had to do it even on an off day. So yeah, that's going to be one of those things where we're thinking about doing it. We'll probably end up doing like a specialty stream, like a 6-7 hour stream on a weekend, and that's probably when we'll test that out. But I don't foresee that being something that we're going to do regularly and often. Let's see, what do you got, Cosmic? Hardy or Sturdy? I forget the name, but it's basically just a +2 max HP per level boost. Oh, okay. Is that the cannon feat? Is that the one that you're using for the cannon feat to give you a +2 per level? Oh, okay, cool. So +2 max HP +2 per level. That's actually, yeah, especially if you're already further in the level up process. Like if you already have a couple levels behind you, that would actually be a nice little bump right now. But that's pretty cool. I hope you get the double or nothing. That sounds pretty dope. I hope you get that one. I hope it works out that you actually get to game on your birthday. That's always fun. So yeah, so that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Is just I would like more ideas from you guys about what topics you want Kage and I to either cover or you want me to discuss on Thursdays. But yeah, just wanted to say that I'm having a lot of fun with this. I'm so thankful for the followers that we have gotten. Um, you know, I really do eventually want to get to developing the YouTube channels. The idea is that I'm going to continue. I'm going to continue to stream to YouTube. Mainly, I'm just going to be here for Twitch and the Twitch chat and all of the interactions there. But I am streaming over to YouTube simultaneously, so they're recording it. The idea is I'm going to continue to do that until eventually I get a better computer and can actually do it all in-house myself. But eventually I want to get a editor to help me go through all of this stuff that I do, all of the hours that we've been putting in on the stream, and break those out into good content videos for YouTube, and then we'll be breaking out different channels. That's probably all next year. So it's it's kind of one of those catch-22s. It's like the longer I wait, the more content there is going to be, and the harder it's going to be to do all that. But at the same time, the longer I wait, the more endless the content will be for my editors. So I could essentially just say, here, go. Plus, it's also finances. It's just figuring out how much that's going to cost to regularly put out a video, I don't know, once a week, once every other week. I'm going to have enough content for it for sure. But trying to schedule out, what kind of videos and all of that, it's a headache I don't want to deal with. But that's why I will eventually get a team. But yeah, I know D&D Discussions has taken multiple turns I didn't expect it to, and it's only gotten better. I've only gotten more enjoyment out of it, and the more I think about it, and just the more I let it kind of grow on its own, just very much how I like my D&D games to do, and my D&D characters. It's just kind of growing out naturally on its own, and I feel like it's getting into a good spot. Kage's here pretty much every Monday. We do homebrew reviews. Being able to dive into deep dive topics. All of that has just been really nice. And I want to continue that, but I want it to also be enjoyable for all of you. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know what you think on YouTube, MisfitGamersStudios, on any of the videos. Of course, we have all of them out there that you can see. All of the past ones are on MisfitGamersStudios on YouTube. And yeah, the idea is that next week we'll get a Discord going so I can actually have offline conversations with you guys. We can hash ideas out for getting it onto the stream and actually having more details. So I will actually be able to be a little bit more prepared. And I think it'll also be really nice because, Kage really likes interacting with people, especially when it comes to D&D. So he's going to be a lot more involved in that Discord as well. So you'll be able to chat with him. And I think you'll just be able to get a lot more out of us in terms of our ideas. And it will just be a lot more fun to, be able to have, again, a community that... not just the idea of yay Twitch community and we're on the same page, but again being able to foster these ideas. Again, the whole point of the stream, thinking outside the beyond the book. Beyond the book again is not about homebrewing everything. It's about how do you take what the book is telling you and adapting it, and having a Discord where we can all talk about the different ways we've done it. It's not about who's right, who's wrong, or how you should be doing it, but my biggest hope is that when you say, hey, how should I handle this? And you get 10 people telling you how they do it. My intent is not to have 10 people arguing, telling you why they're right and everyone else is wrong. But the intent is to show you that there isn't a right way to do it. The intent would be you to say, hey, I'm thinking about doing it this way. What do y'all think? And instead of someone saying, no, don't do it that way, be like, yeah, I like that. Here's how I do it. And then if someone says, here's how I do it, it's the idea of showing you it works. It all works. And someone can even say, hey, I've tried that before. I prefer it this way now. But the idea that you could find out if someone has done that idea before, the fact that you could find out, if it's brand new and if it's a unique idea for you, those are the things that I'm just really like, those are the things that get me excited when I think about building a community. It's not the idea of having more followers and more fans and more people paying attention to me. It's you guys getting to the point and watching a community grow and become better players and better DMs outside of being told, hey, go read the book and just follow it to a T. If you're able to say, like, again, I like critical fail and critical success rolls. I like having those basically always active, at all times. That's just my own personal preference rule. I don't tell everyone that they should do that, but the idea is it works for me and it works for my game. And if that inspires you to make your own type of roll, that's great. The way I do my ability checks, the fact is it's closest to without going over, versus like when I first came in and my DM, my first DM, the one who basically like really got me into D&D, playing D&D, his thing was, because the second edition rule was you have to roll under your ability. So if you have like a 15, you want to roll under a 15 to succeed. So his thing was, the more you rolled under it, the better. So if you had a 15 and you rolled like a 4, a lot of us would say I beat it by a lot, because the idea was that the further you are away, he would give like a small boost. Or at least give more idea that, okay, you really succeeded. And I kind of liked that idea, but again, I'm always just a fan of rolling high and rolling specific. Like I like the idea of the gambling idea, right? I like the idea of, I really like playing craps. So I like the idea of rolling things, hoping and trying for a specific number. So the idea of, if, for me, I kind of flipped the idea and said, hey, if your strength's a 15 and you want to use your strength to do this, the idea is you want to get as close to 15 without going over, because in my mind, it's like, how much of your strength are you effectively using? And the way I've always interpreted that is, if you don't use enough, it's like if you roll a 2 or a 3, you're going to get the job done, but I mean, you didn't really effectively use your strength. Maybe you barely used enough. Whereas if you rolled like a 10, yeah, you did exactly what you wanted. If you roll a 15, like straight up solid 15, exactly your strength, you get maybe the exact thing you wanted, maybe a little bit more, nothing like exaggerated. But, the idea is that, you mastered your muscles, you perfectly put in all of your strength, and then, maybe you even put in too much. And then, you, again, depending upon the situation, right? Like you're trying to unstuck a door, maybe you break it off its hinges if you try too hard. That would definitely happen on a crit roll. But then the idea is, if you roll a 16 or a 17, in my mind, the reason why that fails is because, just like anybody, like a weightlifter can tell you, if you don't have your stance right, why do they always say lift with your, lift with your knees, don't lift with your back? All of those things where it's like, if you don't use your strength correctly, even though you are a strong person, if you try to push that door open and use the wrong muscle, that's what I think of is, it not only doesn't happen, but you might have the chance of actually like, oh yeah, that hurt. You didn't like brace it yourself against the wall, or maybe your leg cramped. Those are the reasons why I say, like, you put too much effort in and you went over your strength allotment. And that's kind of the way I've always envisioned it. And again, that's the way to where it's like, I'm still using the same rule. I'm still using the fact that you roll under your ability score, but the way I want to apply it is beyond what the book is telling you. I'm adding that extra amount of ability scale in order to help guide the storyline. You know what I mean? So depending upon, they passed the roll, but I like to have it on a scale so the story changes. Instead of saying it's always a pass fail A B, you either opened the door and you get the open door description, or you didn't open the door and you get the go away description. I don't like that. I like the idea of realistically crafting that story. I like the idea that if you're that big strong guy and you try to break open this door and you were like, you try to like nudge it and you rolled a 2, it'll open, but maybe you like, you nudge it and it doesn't do anything, and then you try to let go and then it falls over, or you nudge it and it barely cracks, and then you just kind of like are able to like shimmy it a little bit more. But the idea would be like, that's kind of an embarrassing moment for a big tough character that didn't use their strength properly. They still got the desired effect, but it wasn't as good looking as they wanted it to. And those are those moments where me as a DM, I don't want to change the fundamental rules. I don't want to change the fact that you did roll correctly. You are going to succeed. I don't want to change the success, but I do want to change the narrative around that success, which is why I like that sliding scale. And again, these are those ideas. These are the types of ideas that I want to bring out of people more and get people more comfortable with. Not saying that there's not a lot of people out there that think this way, but I do want to try to reach the people who feel like I did when, way early on before I really got into DMing when I was growing up. And I had friends who would play, and their mindset was if you don't own the books and you don't follow them to a T, you cannot play this game. And those are the people I'm trying to reach. The people who feel like they have been gatekept from this game because they want to be more creative and they feel like they can't be. And this is how you get that to that, just talking about the different situations and how people would do it and showing that everybody has their own approach to it. And I want to foster that community that everybody's excited to hear those details instead of waiting to fight the reasons why those details are wrong. But yeah, I would love to see that eventually, is just a growth of ideas of how to implement different things that you want to do, not just different ideas, but how to help others bring their ideas to life. And that's one of the things that we like to do at the Homebrew Review is with me and Kage. It's not so much of telling you, it's not just, that's cool, but here's how to make it better. It's the idea of, I want your idea to work for you. And I won't tell you how to I wouldn't tell you to change it if you weren't, or I wouldn't tell you what to do with it if you weren't asking me. It's more of if I wanted it in High Point, this is how I would approach it. But that's meant to foster the idea of, I won't game like you, but that's okay. I'm not saying that your idea is wrong. I'm just saying I wouldn't use it as is. And I like that kind of fostering of communication, because there are too many people out there that just say, I don't like that. It's broken. Go away. And it's like, well, what use is that? Like you look at someone's like, hey, I built this weapon. How do you think of it? And you're like, it's trash, whatever. Or it's like, that's too OP. It's like, that's not constructive. Just telling someone, the whole thing, get out of here. I don't care. But being able to break it down and be like, well, I feel like it does too much damage for the level that you put it at. That's fine. You're not saying that you can't use it. You're not saying that you're dumb or that you shouldn't. You're just being like, I would feel as a player or as a DM, I would feel like that's putting out too much damage that early on. Or, hey, I think it has too many abilities. It can just do too much. Most weapons can only do up to 2 things, and you have this thing doing 7. Like, it's not about telling someone they're wrong, but that constructive part is a lot of what I don't see in some of the communities in D&D about, again, when people are either trying to homebrew or when they're just trying to create a setting that works for them and their imagination. I often see that critical review of just that yes or no, it works or it doesn't. And I want more. I want to provide more than just yes or no. So yeah, I would like to build a community around that. What's up, Cosmic? Or Life of a Dungeon Master Behind the Scenes, a D&D 5e documentary. Yeah. That would be actually a really interesting, that would actually be a really cool documentary, to be honest. Because, it's like, you have all, the celebrity DMs and everything, but it would be, really cool to actually, have it, almost like a short, even a half-hour documentary just that has a sit down with a lot of those DMs or just DMs in general, and they really just go through some of those core mechanics that they have, some of the techniques that they have when they're crafting. Because I've seen individualized interviews and then kind of give tidbits, but it'd be really an awesome deep dive into what is their mindset when they're creating those storylines and the characters, and are they drafting it from a place of the storyline, or are they crafting it from a place of the books and the mechanics and what it needs to do to the party. So that actually would be a really, really interesting idea. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I had for y'all today. Like I said, it's going to be a short stream. I've been having a long week and just trying to take care of some things. But I'm going to do my best to always do Monday and Thursday. I'm liking, it will always be a minimum of an hour. I just feel like if it's less than an hour, it's, it doesn't feel fulfilling even to me. No, I have not gotten a text from Kage yet. Doesn't look like he's seen it, but I know that he gets busy. with a youth group on Thursdays, so he might not get that till later tonight. But yeah, I'm gonna do whatever I can to always post, unless I'm like out of town, like I was a couple weeks ago. Mondays, Thursdays are gonna continue. Thursdays I'm pretty much unlike little things like this with the feet. I don't mind doing like little pop up things because that's just going to be the nature of I think a lot of what we do on this stream. And I'm not upset about that. Wasn't what I was expecting, but like I said, I'm letting it grow organically. And hey, it looks like a homebrew review is just going to be a thing. Rip. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what time he gets out of that. So yeah, he might not get back to me and for like another hour or two. If he even gets back to me tonight, he doesn't always respond very easily. But yeah, so I really think that locking in the big reviews on Monday are going to be a really good thing for us. It'll also just help me keep more organized with everything. Thursdays, like I said, they're going to either be deep dives or just major topics, something that I can bring to the table to help people, develop more as players. Because I follow a couple other D&D YouTube channels, and I don't want to necessarily take. I don't want to follow the train of just taking the most common topic or taking like the top topics or whatever's trending right now. I eventually would have to do that if I want to get into the YouTube space, and that's my editor's issue down the line, but. I don't want to just be another D&D streamer. I don't necessarily have to be completely unique and have to be something that no one's ever seen before. But, until we can decide how we want to actually play a game of D&D on stream, until we decide how we want to set that up. Again, because I don't do skits, I don't really do the comedy thing. I want to develop topics that are either seldom talked about or aren't talked about in a bigger creative breadth. In a sense of if I want to talk about topics that seem that whenever they're brought up, it's always like the same, almost necessarily like scripted reply that you hear from most people. And those are the ones that I want to deep dive into to really get behind, like, where is that coming from? Where is that mindset? And, what is fueling it? Is it actually like, is it a rules as written issue? Is it a rule of cool issue? Is it, well, that's what the celebrity DM does and that's what everyone else wants to do? Like, those are kind of like some of the harder hitting questions I want to talk about, but those topics I think of, but I'm also really bad at organization. So remembering how I want to cover them in stream is also something I want more help with. And that's where the Discord comes into play, is talking with the community more about these type of topics, and understanding, where everyone's coming from will help me better approach these topics and better create a conversation for the stream. Let's see, Cosmic, I forgot, when you're making new characters, what system do you use for stats? Standard array, roll d6, or point buy? So, for high point, I actually have a custom way. I don't do point buy, and I've never really liked the standard array. To be completely honest, because of the way I built high point and because of actual factors that are at play, high point, I don't like the limitations of the point buy, the roll d6. I don't like the limitations that it automatically implies. I like the idea of being able to have a more dynamic situation, but I also like preventing, I don't want to say preventing, I also like mitigating metagaming and min-maxing. So how do I do it? When you create a character in high point, you essentially get kind of your a custom array. So part of this is taken from how I think part of it, if I remember, I don't remember everything that my old DM did, but I think part of this came from how he did it, and then a few modifications from me. But because of the way that high point views players and player characters. I don't know if I've actually gone over this. So with High Point, because of the way I've structured it, because of the way that the history works, and because of the way that High Point has developed, player characters are fundamentally different in High Point. They are treated differently on a fundamental level mechanically. And essentially what does that mean for the player? Pretty much nothing in terms of gameplay. Like it doesn't, I don't have special mechanics that come into play like on a character sheet. But what I mean by that is in High Point, because everything within High Point is essentially something of Zenith's creation. At some point throughout the generations, Zenith has created things, and those things have created things. And of course, the more all of that spreads, the further it gets away from his original creation, but they are all still pieces. Like there's just fragments of him. And even if two of his creations created something, that's still just various fragments of him. Now, granted, they are not his creation in the sense that they do not, have the intentions that he had. Like they weren't created with his intentions. They were created with his creation's intentions. But on a fundamental level, it's still all kind of beget from him, right? Like most of everything in there is somehow intertwined with Zenith. And on some fundamental level, Zenith has some sort of finite control over all of that. I can get more into detail on a different stream, but essentially the idea is that, again, this is Zenith's entire realm. He has created essentially everything up until this point. But anomalies happen. Things happen. Things like, mantles. We talked about this before, about how mantles can be created on their own. And with that mindset, every so often, because of just the way creation works and just the simple fact that Zenith has come to understand as a god, as you create, the more things you lose control over, right? The more you try to control and create, the more things that will happen. It is a product of nature. It is a product of fate, of destiny. These things happen. So he has all these things, and he's created all these people, and some of them are his followers, some of them are not. But when a player character comes into creation, right? When a player comes to my realm and creates a character, regardless of the age, the idea is that character gets plopped into my realm. And remember, I don't ignore things. It's not just like, oh, you're basically playing in my realm. No, when you create that character, that is fundamentally now in my realm. Everything of your backstory, I have to take into account. I have to make sure that ripple effect works, where I place you, when I placed you, all of that has to work for me. And so on another level of that, when a player comes in and creates a new character, that character is fundamentally unique in the sense that their soul, this is the way that I interpret it within the realm of High Point, that soul is 100% unique and detached from Zenith in all ways. It is not, even if technically you could say that the parents of the player, the in-game character's parents are Zenith's creations. But that's that fundamental anomaly that essentially he's come to understand is inevitable in all creation. And no matter where you go, that inevitability of uniqueness. Zenith knew he was unique. He was unique from where he came from. And now he has seen creation. He has seen the creation of these unique souls. He knows that he cannot control them. He knows that they are not of him, that he cannot reabsorb any of that. That is 100% unique soul that is now existing within his sphere of influence, and he can't do anything about it. And every time someone creates a new character, that's what these things are. These are unique things, and he knows it. Like, that's one of the reasons why Zenith takes so much interest in Kage in his gaming, in his current campaign, is because it's one of the, I think Kage was the actual first player character that Zenith had ever interacted with. It was like, finally Zenith got essentially the courage himself to interact, because, this whole time Zenith has had his entire realm, and everything has never been like, yes, things have happened that he didn't expect to happen, but it's all him. So to finally interact with something that is the closest he's ever had since, his departure from his, previous existence, to a unique entity, it was kind of something that he wasn't prepared for. So Kage was the first unique entity that he has spoken to since High Point's creation. And that is, to me, why I don't like the limitations and why my array system will break some of those limitations, because of that simple factor. The reason why I explain that is because the way I have my my array system is designed so to eventually represent the fact that when you create a character, you are special. You are unique. You stand out in this world, not just because of your backstory, not because you created, a 19-year-old who's already gone to war. Like, that's not why you're special. You're special because the game, or because the realm itself sees you and knows, not that you don't belong here, but knows that you are not of here. You are from here, but you are not of here. And that matters. So very, very high level NPCs can notice that. So when the team met Queen Mab, that was a big deal. Not just because it was Queen Mab and she's a big deal, but she immediately recognized that none of you are, and she's not from here. She's technically, that Queen Mab is technically not from High Point either. So bigger storyline crossover stuff. But fact being, playing characters are unique. They are unique souls, which is why gods will treat players way differently than other NPCs. Not in the sense that it's meta, like they know, but a player character soul will be more powerful. Like, you will be more valuable to a god. If you choose to be a follower, the fact is, like, when you become a follower, that basically means that you've donated your soul at the end of your life to that god's power. And essentially all of your thoughts and prayers will fuel that. That's way more, like, that is way more powerful for a player to do that than any NPC I could ever create. It's just a fundamental fact I've added into High Point to enforce that benefit, that the players matter way more. Like them coming into the realm is so important that I want that on every layer. I really, again, this is how High Point works. Everything that I invest in and everything I do with High Point gets seeped into every level, because that's just, I don't see it happening any other way. Like, for me, it doesn't work if I don't really, like, cement it in there that these are the factors that play into the world. And it helps me organize things better. It makes sure that if I have it installed on every layer, it's the continuity. The world reacts the same way on all of those layers, and it makes it a lot easier to have that world continuity. So you prefer the D6, the 46? It's the only system I know, and it's what I'm used to. Yeah, So mine's similar. So I digress. So let me get back to my array. I just wanted to let you guys know, like, the backstory behind why the array works and why I justify some of the limit breaks. So when you create a character in High Point, this is what you do. You because what is it? Let me 7 stats, right? Yeah, because you have strength, dex, wisdom, intelligence, constitution, charisma. Am I missing one? Strength, dex, wisdom, intelligence, constitution, charisma. I'm missing one, aren't I? Why do I... Why is my brain just blanking right now? Or is it because I have all of them and I'm just being dumb? Yeah, there isn't a 7. Okay, yeah, I'm just being dumb. Unless... hang on a second. Oh, that's why. Okay. Because you... Wow, this is why I didn't want to go a long stream today. It's a good question, though. I will be right back. I got to step off camera. Give me just 2 minutes. I got to go grab one of my notes here so I can stay on track, because my brain is... I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Nope. I figured it out. Ugh. Nope. This was. I have been so stuck in 5e recently because of my deep dive into that. I was getting frazzled because I was crisscrossing my old method for my original second E character sheet. So I had actually added a 7th stat on my character sheet, and that's where I'm getting frazzled with this information. So on the original, way back in the day, I was trying to not really, I guess you could just say I was trying to homebrew a lot of stuff. I was really just trying to modify some things the way it would make more sense for high point. And one thing I did was I added stamina as a stat. And this added a couple extra benefits for me to just do some extra calculations and just do an easy thing. Plus, I like the idea of having I was trying to play around with stamina as a stat versus like fatigue as an effect. Anyway, had a lot of reasons, and that's why I was getting frazzled, because originally my array roll specifically called for that 7th stat, and that's why I'm just like, why am I thinking there's a 7th stat? That was an old thing I did. I don't do that anymore. Right. So back to my array. Anyway, that was so. You create a character and you want to roll for stats. So I let you roll for all of your stats, but here's how you do it first. You get to you roll 9 d20s. And you write them all down in order. So you roll a d20 9 times, write them all in order, and you'll drop the lowest 3. So you'll be remaining with 6. The reason why I was frazzled is because when I had it as a stamina roll, it was roll 10 and drop the lowest 3. And that's why I just was always, I was like, why do I keep saying 10 and 3 when that leaves you 7, but that there's only 6 stats? That's because I was adding to the 7th. Why 9 and minus 3? I just like the number 3. So, and because it's a layover from when I had 7 stats. So it's, you roll the 9, drop the lowest 3, and that's option 1. You do that 3 times. So essentially you're going to have 3 stat blocks. You're going to have, again, 1 through 9, drop the lowest 3, roll it 9 times in order, and those are your 3 options. You get to choose any one of those. Now, that is not necessarily stat to stat. The first one you roll isn't your strength. It's just those are the numbers you're going to get to choose from. So you basically do that 3 times. You get to choose one of those 3 blocks. You don't get a mix and match. You just choose one of those 3 blocks, and then you assign which number to what stat. The alternative is, if you do that, if you roll all 3 of your blocks and you don't like any 3 of them, and you're just like, I don't want any of these, you get one other option, which is I'll roll them. I do it once, and you take what I roll. You take my best 6 of 9, and that just essentially is kind of just you're gonna play whatever the game gives you. Can I hurry up? Come here. Jesus, you were gonna knock some shit over. I swear to God. Hi. This freaking cat is going to knock everything over one of these days. It is food time. He is hungry, and all he wants is to be in my face. But yeah, so that is basically how I do it. So yeah, you basically get 3 blocks of numbers to choose from that you have rolled. The highest 6 of 9 on each block. Once you've chosen those 6, you erase all the others. That's it, and then those are your stats. So you one by one assign them to whatever stat block you want. I like this for a couple different reasons, because the reason why I don't like the point buy system is I like the idea of being able to have the option, but I also kind of I like the option when people choose it to have a crap stat, but when you have point buy and everything, it's a little bit too metagamey. It's a little bit too min-maxy of, specifically choosing it. So when you have a block of numbers that you have to choose from, you get a little less, it's a little less dicey. It's like more of a, okay, what is my bad stat? And I like it on the sense of the effect of, it's not just a bad stat, but it's a bad character trait, whether you throw it in, charisma or intelligence. Having those solid numbers makes it a little bit more difficult. But as you can see, because it's D20s, you can have more than 120. You can have a 20 in any stat, and you can have, by technicality, all 20s. It is not against the rules. I do not have anything that says you cannot have all of that. You can have all 18s. If you rolled that fucking well, you get it. And that's why I went over that whole preamble of why player character souls in High Point are different, because that wouldn't normally happen with an NPC. Like, an NPC wouldn't just be created. I wouldn't just flat out have an NPC get 20 in all stats. You would have to, like, the NPC would have to have a very particular type of backstory in order to even come close to accomplishing that. But a player character can get that naturally, by the sense that, again, though you, like, the whole realm, High Point reacts to them differently. They exist differently in High Point, and that allows for that, like, extra bit right out the gate. So a little less dicey when you're rolling more dice than the normal methods. I like how you just pick up all the puns. I love that. But yeah, that's the way that I like to do it, because, again, I like having those solid sets. So you get 3 chances to get a good group of numbers, but if it doesn't work out, again, to me, that is fundamental of D&D, right? I mean, metagaming and trying to min-max is also fundamental. But to me, what's more than anything else is that random chance and that fluctuation of the dice. So when creating your character, giving players too much ability to get too close, like, again, I don't want to stop players from getting exactly what they want, but at the same time, that's just also kind of fundamentally part of the game of not everything is ideally what you want. And I don't want to necessarily be the one to put a roadblock in there to say that you can't do it, but having a mechanic in the game that says, hey, guess what? You now grew up, and one of your stats, one of your fundamental character flaws, at least you get to choose what it is. But, it's something that, I want to inflict, but I also want to give them the equal chance that they get the exact opposite, right? I want them to have that glimmer of hope that they walk out of there with a 20 strength, 20 dex, 20 intelligence, and a 20 constitution, and not feel bad that they had to do anything or lose or sacrifice. That's just who they are. They just were born like that. I really like that. I think it makes for some really spicy gameplay, because especially with all the other things you can do. I do also allow for beyond 20 stats. So again, right out the gate, you can make a level 1 character that has a 22 strength if you have all of the right feats and you do all of the right things. It's possible to do. I don't see why it shouldn't be possible, especially, again, if you treat it like the idea of, well, not, normal NPC couldn't do that. I'm like, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. A normal NPC couldn't just be that way. Why? I wanted a reason why. In High Point, I don't like no reason. So the best reason I figured out to make sense was that, why can't another NPC? Because, yeah, I as a DM, I have that mindset of, if you can do it, so can others. So keep in mind why certain things aren't, certain OP things aren't more available, right? Like, if you can have it, anybody can have it. So I like that mindset, except for this, because this has a real good reason. I don't want to create NPCs that are 20 in all stats, unless they are like the uber big, BBEG, and they spent their entire life getting to that point. That's fine. But I'm totally fine with the player doing it, and I wanted that good reason for it. And my very good reason is that you were fundamentally different. You were quite literally, by the very nature of your essence and being and creation, more powerful, or at least, and it's not even more powerful, because you might have shit stats, but your soul has more potential and more value in more ways than mortal, like on the mortal plane, could ever comprehend. That those are the reasons why I think it's perfectly acceptable to let players be a little bit more OP. Now, granted, this is also in a world that takes that into account, right? Like, it's not just that they're OP and that everything they just walk through everything. But the world operates on that fundamental concept that they are a little bit special, so they get a little bit more, but at the same time, they're also going to catch a little bit more for it. The world doesn't like that they're special, and some people want that specialty for themselves. So there's a lot of good intrigue in that concept, but again, it's not something that I want to bog the players down until they get to that level, because like once you start getting to the level where a player wants to become an immortal, then you start to have really big implications, because now it's not just a mortal soul that's up for grabs. Now it's an immortal that is not of this world. It's from this world, but not of it. And that is a much deeper implication. And then let's say you get to eventually a point where a gamer wants to become a god. That is a level of game that is going to be very fascinating for whoever wants to first get there, because now you're going to have a bunch of the old gods who don't. Hi, you taking that? You have a lot of the old gods who don't think it's fair that you would be naturally more powerful or more valuable as a god entity. And that also changes, because what does that mean? If a normal mortal soul is already more valuable because it's from a player, because again it was created by and from the outside source, that it's unique, what does that mean if that soul eventually ascends to godhood? How does that god compare to Zenith? And how does, Zenith is also compared to, as far as High Point's concerned, Zenith is the only outside of like some of the Eternals. Zenith is like the only outside person. Now these new souls are coming in, these player characters, and if they became a god, how does the universe reconcile essentially two entities like that? So it's just all of that intrigue I have in the background, waiting for the players when they want to get there, because I also don't like, again, not so much that I don't like the story to end or to have an ending, but I don't like basically telling my players, like, once you get to a certain level, the game's over, create a new character. I want them to decide that. If they just want to create my character to like level 40 or to level 20 and be a king or a baron, hey, great for them. But I want to give them that option. If they don't want the adventure to end and they want to become an immortal, if they want to become a god, hell yeah, good for them. Like, it's on them to decide what their end goals are, and up to them to decide how they want to see the end of their character, whether that's a TPK, whether that's, retirement, it doesn't matter. But I don't also want ascension to godhood to just be like, hey, you're a god now, goodbye. It's like, nope, if you become a god, game still goes on. You have now different responsibilities. You have a different level of gameplay, something that my DM... I didn't really get much into it with him, but at least he opened my mind up to the idea that becoming a god does not stop the gameplay. It just changes the type of gameplay. And I took that to heart and made my own concept of immortal and godhood level gameplay that just kind of goes beyond, it goes beyond what normal D&D would have, but it still settles into the D&D fundamentals. It's just, you're just now playing on such a different concept that you have to rearrange your puzzles. Your combats aren't just who goes down in HP, right? I mean, godlike contests are more of who goes down in the public's eye kind of thing. It's like, it's not so much of who's going to die, but who is going to, prove their point or win the argument, essentially. And again, it's not usually one-on-one. It's usually done through, side means, not, the whole non-direct interference thing. So playing that could be being a god and coming up with ways to talk to your followers and give them, coming up with ways to use your followers, your clerics, your paladins to go and do things in the mortal world that would hinder or hurt the other gods. It's more role play. It's more diplomatic. You want to talk about what other gods are doing, but then you can try to interfere with what they're doing and then try to get your own agenda across as well, while just maintaining your sphere of influence, because once you become a god, you have to choose what area you are going to control. That's your responsibility. So you also get, quests and side missions on maintaining the peace, maintaining your sphere of influence. So, yeah, it's fascinating. It's all good stuff. But yeah, no, thank you for that question. That was a great question on how I do the point buy system. But yeah, I prefer D20s. Roll 9, drop the lowest 3, do that 3 times, and then if you don't like any of those groupings, I get to roll, and then you take my final one, and that's pretty much it. But again, you get to assign each point, to what stat it goes to. Just how I like to do it. It's not better or worse than anybody else's. It fits the narrative that I'm trying to give to my players in terms of what this world is and what High Point actually does and how it relates to the players. The cat's crawling. Yep, just about his food time, just about mine as well. So yeah, so thank you for that question. I think that was a good way to end it. I think I will end it on that note. I got to go get myself some food. I got to go get him some food because he is literally climbing up my walls. But yes, so join me again next Monday and Thursday for D&D Discussions. Join me this weekend for more pop-up gaming. I will be continuing my playthrough of Baldur's Gate Act 1, and I'm just going to continue going through that and giving my critique as I see fit. Kage will be back in the studio with me on Monday, where we will be doing a review. Cosmic, hopefully you can send us that idea that you had last stream with me, the weapon that was stuck in the cave from the stalagmites and stalactites. We do want to hear about that one, so go ahead, type that up, email it to me. We'll go ahead and review that. I also have my own item, the Ring of Solidarities, or the Rings of Solidarity, a little custom item that I've been toying with, so I'll probably throw that one out as well, just to continue the topic of homebrew and stuff. Pinnacle, yes, the Pinnacle weapon. Do want to hear more about the puzzle. I know you said that you have a puzzle as well as the multitude, the three things it does: the melee, the range, and the cursed. So do want to hear about that. You can either type it up to me and email it to me, or just have it ready, and then we'll go over it in stream chat. Otherwise, that'll be Monday. Next Thursday, like I said, I'll probably be creating the Discord for the community on stream, and then we might even do either some social media stuff, or I might just go into the YouTube channel and mess around with that. But yeah, basically we'll start the community build next Thursday. Kage will be here for some more homebrew review on Monday, and this weekend I will be continuing Baldur's Gate, and I might do Shadows of Doubt, but I'll probably just be doing Baldur's Gate this weekend, so join me for that. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Have a fantastic weekend. You can see this, you can see the rest of this podcast as well as all of the other streams that I've done. I keep saying podcast streams, I never know which one it is. I'll figure out what I want to call them eventually. But yeah, if you're catching this late, you can catch the rest of this stream as well as all past streams on YouTube at MisfitGamersStudios. They're all there live, just sitting there. Eventually we'll edit them. But yeah, other than that, have a great rest of your night, and I will catch you this weekend with Baldur's Gate, but D&D Discussions will return on Monday. Take care, y'all.